West Bloomfield News, Civic Center TV and 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield, Kego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, 89.3 Lakes FM. It's the Megacast, an hour-long TV and radio streaming show keeping you informed on the day-to-day news. Live from West Bloomfield, we're bringing you the news, updates, and information impacting communities around Michigan. Join our host, Tyler Kieft, as he talks with community members, business leaders, and professional experts about the stories that impact you. You're watching the Megacast on Civic Center TV.
When the temperatures are chilly, being together warms the soul. Keep the winter fun going. Help protect yourself and those around you by keeping your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
You're listening to your radio homes for the Megacast, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Today's edition of the Megacast begins now. Welcome to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Today we'll be talking to a number of people about topics of interest and importance to Michiganders just like you and how they relate to us right here in Oakland County. Let's begin, as we always do, on our local news page on civiccentertv.com. This is a great resource for you to go to and check in on the daily with us at our flagship Civic Center TV as you explore what's going on here in Oakland County and around the state of Michigan. We know you don't have a lot of time. No one does. We're all busy. We're all running around. We don't have a ton of time to read the paper every morning in full detail or watch the morning news as we're getting ready and distracted by helping our kids get ready for school or dealing with problems that may pop up at work before we even get to the office. There's only so much time we have, and it's a great place to go to explore what is going on in our community each and every day. We clear that page before every single week and only have the headlines that are making news today and have been throughout the week on that page on our website, civiccentertv.com. Just click on our local news page. The link at the top of our page on your computer, web browser, on your mobile devices, certainly on your cell phones, potentially on your tablet, depending on what operating system you're on, what browser you may be using. That may be in the left margin of the screen. I realize that this would be your left margin of the screen as I mirror myself here. That is where you'll find our local news page and find all these articles. So whether you go to that page on a Friday afternoon or a Friday night to look back at what's been the big stories of the week before you catch up on all the news and happenings around the community over the weekend, or you're joining us every morning live from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. or live to tape on several of our outlets, as well as for replays throughout the day, the evenings, as well as over the weekends, or just watching us on demand and want to follow along. All of that is right on our local news page on civiccentertv.com. In addition, this show was born out of the COVID-19 pandemic. So while the pandemic has been declared over by President Joe Biden and so much of our daily life has returned to some semblance of normalcy, similar to what we had pre-March of 2020, coming up now almost on 3 years since the beginning of that pandemic. Tough to believe that. We still have links to COVID-19 information at the top of our local news page from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention at the federal level, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services at that State of Michigan link, as well as Oakland County and several of our local communities here in Oakland County spread all the way throughout. Now, and this may not be something you go to specifically for COVID-19 information, but at the very least, it will take you directly to those resources, particularly the CDC, the state of Michigan, and the Oakland County resources that will help you find other public health information, whether it be the spread of the flu in your local area, what you need to know about that, or other viruses that may come along. Certainly in the summer, sometimes here and there, hopefully not this summer, hopefully this summer we won't have issues like this at any point. But the West Nile virus, things like that, you're also able to find public health information from these resources. And it's a great place to start as you look into these issues, as you're doing some research of your own, keeping yourself informed, or just trying to stay up to date on what all of this means and how it's impacting our communities. Those are great places to start. And that is why we continue to have those at the top of our local news page on civiccentertv.com. Without further ado, let's get to what's making news on this Monday here in Oakland County and across the state of Michigan. Our top story comes from Marina Johnson at the Detroit Free Press. Just under a week removed from a nasty ice storm that hit much of southeastern Michigan, over 300,000 homes and businesses remain without power today, worried about maintaining their business, keeping their families warm, and recovering lost goods such as food that is now days since gone bad. Late last week, DTE Energy said that they hoped to have the majority of their customers' power restored by Sunday, and much to the frustration of many, that was another promise that the utility has not entirely kept. Now, that being said, over 450,000 customers through DTE have had their power restored as of this morning, and that is, according to a statement by DTE, about 95% of its coverage area. That was the promise that they made last week. But for those that have had their power out since Wednesday or after Wednesday, it's not really much of a consolation to say that, well, promises made, promises kept. 95% of you are back with your power, but we're still working on that last 5%. In a statement, DTE Energy, and this is on their outage map, which you can find on our website at civiccentertv.com/ice, as well as linked in this article on our local news page. Quote, as of 7 a.m. Monday morning, DTE field crews have restored power to more than 600,000 of the 630,000 customers impacted by the recent ice storm. I would like to apologize. I do realize earlier on I mentioned 300,000. That would be 30,000 based on that calculation, not 300,000. While more than 95% of customers impacted by the storm have been restored, crews will continue working around the clock to restore the remaining storm-impacted customers, as well as all other customers that have recently experienced outages. We expect the vast majority of the remaining customers without power to have theirs restored by the end of the day on Tuesday. So right now, that benchmark has moved. What was previously said to be by the end of the day on Sunday, that this power would be restored to the vast majority of the area. Now they're saying full restoration expected by the end of day on Tuesday. As of right now, 95% of customers under DTE's umbrella, the utility, has restored power for them. However, that last 5% is still waiting, and they can expect by Tuesday to have that power restored. This, of course, has left many DTE Energy customers with a number of questions, as many of their neighbors' power has been restored, and some lost power well after the storm had even hit on Wednesday. And then the devil known as time took its toll in partnership with the frozen over trees and limbs and branches, as well as the utilities in the early portions of Thursday of last week. And so DTE took to social media, first to answer the question, well, my neighbor has power, why don't I? We have a link to that video that we're going to show you from DTE Energy's social media, as Vice President of Distribution Operations Ryan Stowe explains how your location on the power grid or on our local power system impacts the status of your power, both during a weather event and in the immediate aftermath, as well as power is being restored. Let's take a look at that video.
All of my neighbors' power has been restored, but I'm still out of service. And what's going on? Well, with DT and our restoration process, really we start working on the large outages and the large circuits that are out of power. So we'll start to restore larger chunks of customers, and it's really because, with just a couple of locations, if we make a repair, we might be able to get a 2,000 customer circuit restored. So we start to focus on those. Then we continue to move on to smaller and smaller outages as we restore. So we have a whole process and a whole team who helps us analyze and take a look at where all of those small pockets are still at. And then we have dedicated crews that we use to route and go after those single services and other small problems in the electrical system to get them restored. Really can be a kind of a complex process because we're talking about thousands and thousands of locations for our crews to go out and work on. So rest assured, we're doing everything we can and won't stop until we get that last customer back.
There you go. That's the answer to that particular question. Many have. And it's something that, not even just in this particular storm situation or in this particular situation of power outages, that people have that sort of a question. Why does the house across the street from me have power, but I don't? Everyone across the street down the whole road has power, but my side of the street doesn't. What's that all about? Maybe that answers that question for you. That being said, look, it's easy for someone that has power and only really briefly lost power for maybe 30 minutes during this entire ordeal to be a little more sympathetic toward DTE than those of you in the last 5% of the 95% of their coverage area of their customer base that's currently without power. But that being said, these are complicated issues, and with the way that the power grid is designed, and whether or not that's entirely the fault of DTE Energy is a debate for another day. The way that our power system is designed, when certain things go out along the line, it affects a number of different areas, and they have to prioritize. They have to get the most important infrastructure back so that regular services for the community can be available, so that our schools can be open for kids Monday through Friday, and so that the shelters that are helping keep people that are regularly out in the cold and out in the extreme heat in the summer be safe. Those critical infrastructure need to be restored first, and then they can go into isolated areas down the line and eventually restore everybody's power. That being said, of course, there's going to be a lot of frustration when you're told on Friday that your power is going to be back by Sunday, and then Sunday comes around and now you're being told it's Tuesday. From that angle, perhaps DTE could have done a better job being regularly out there and updating the public and providing that information swiftly as possible to help those that are recovering from this have a better idea of when their power may be restored. And maybe in these sort of situations they do need to be able to bite the bullet a little bit better and fall on their sword a little bit, so to speak, and take in some of the costs for these customers and maybe give them some relief on those bills going forward, considering the rate hike they proposed previously after some other issues in the past continuing through time. But all these things are debates for other times. As of now, power restored to 95% of DTE customers. Those other 5% expected to be restored by Tuesday. That's the current estimation from DTE Energy. There is no guarantee, of course, that there are several factors that go into that. Additionally, in addition to that first question that was answered, Stowe also answered the question of those outages that occurred after the storm proper. Why did I lose power after the storm when everything was clear and I had power anyway? Let's take another look and see what the answer was to that. It's another big question that a lot of people have at this time.
I had power when the storm hit, and now afterwards I've lost power. What's going on? That's a question we often hear. And in this case, really could be one of two things going on, particularly in an ice storm event. You get a lot of damage to the trees. Those tree branches continue to fall for hours and days afterwards. So sometimes that can be the reason why somebody loses power kind of after the fact. Second reason, there could be damage up on the equipment. We're still able to serve electricity, but in order to make safe repairs for everybody on that circuit, we'll need to take an intentional interruption to make it safe for our crews to work. Those are two of the most common reasons.
And there's your answer for that. Again, there's so much that goes into restoring power, and in some cases, certain parts of the system go out, and that affects other parts of the system, and then repairs need to be made that require parts of the system beyond that or within the little subsystem parts all across the line to ultimately be shut down for the safety of the workers out on the lines, of course, who are doing such amazing work and working around the clock. They are the heroes in this sort of situation because they are working long hours in often dangerous situations too, sometimes while these weather events are still ongoing, weathering the cold, weathering the heat, weathering the wind to restore all this power to people that are in desperate need of it, whether it's in a winter storm or an ice storm situation like we had last week Wednesday and last week Thursday, or some of the more severe weather events we typically see in the spring and in the summer. This is all as another storm is making its way through our local area today, with rain expected well into the evening tonight, all through the afternoon. We're expected to have some rain and also some chilly temperatures. How many more will be impacted by power outages because of that today is yet to be seen. Hopefully, Not many more, if any more, will be affected by that today, and hopefully that doesn't take too much of a toll on DTE's continued response to restore those last 5% of its customers and their regular power. Stay with us on our special ice storm page on civiccentertv.com/ice for more information. Here you'll find everything you need to know about the power outages. We'll give you updates on the storm that's coming in today from the National Weather Service's Detroit Pontiac office out of White Lake right here in Oakland County, as well as links to the power outage map for both DTE Energy and Consumers Energy. So depending on which utility you are under the umbrella of, you'll be able to get updates on your local area, as well as report outages as they come in today. It's really important that if there is an outage, you report it to DTE or you report it to Consumers Energy so that they can immediately put that into their ticket system and understand that they need to look into why there's power out at your location or in several locations around you. And as they get those sort of bubbles of power outages, they can put that on their list and put that within their priority system of how to get power restored. Every little bit that comes through, every little bit of information that comes through helps them take that one step further to help restore power. Moving on now, also making headlines from the news team at the Detroit News. A Facebook post over the weekend brought some much needed good news to the Michigan State community and, well, to everyone here in our morning state as we approach 2 weeks since the mass shooting at Michigan State University. As student Troy Furbush revealed that he was one of the 5 hospitalized students as a result of 2 weeks ago on Monday in that shooting at both Berkey Hall and the MSU Union, and he is the first of those 5 students to be released from Sparrow Hospital, having been released last week. Forbush, now in Key West, Florida, as he begins his recovery, wrote the following, quote, "On Monday, February 13th, I was one of 8 victims in the mass shooting that took place at Michigan State University. I took a bullet to my chest, had a brush with death, and almost didn't make it if it weren't for the incredible doctors who saved my life in emergency surgery that night. After a week spent in the ICU and 3 additional days being cared for by the superhero staff, I was blessed to be the first individual discharged from Sparrow Hospital. I live in support of my 4 fellow Spartans whose lives are forever changed, as well as mine is as well. There was a time when I used to dream of getting into this school. Now I represent it. My world has been turned upside down so suddenly, but I refuse to be a number, a statistic. Alongside my family, friends, community, university, and state government officials, we will enact change. I have a long journey of recovery ahead of me that this is only the beginning. Rest in power, Alexandria, Ariel, and Brian. Hashtag Spartan Strong." Such a great showing of courage and of perseverance from the student from Troy Forbush, but also of compassion for his fellow injured students still in the hospital in the Sparrow Health System at this time, as well as, of course, those 3 students who were killed just under 2 weeks ago today, Ariel Anderson, Alexandria Werner, and Brian Fraser. Finally, making headlines today on our local news page on civiccentertv.com from Bridge, Michigan's Mina Arshad. Downriver, our neighbors in the Belleville area are up in arms as a national controversy makes parallels to home. Following the train derailment and exposure to hazardous materials that's been all over the news out of East Palestine, Ohio, Michigan Representative Debbie Dingell out of Dearborn announced that some solid waste had been delivered to Wayne County and more liquid waste was on its way late last week. But neither the representative nor her fellow representative, Rashida Tlaib, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, or Wayne County Executive Warren Evans knew that some of the waste was toxic waste, stating that they learned it, quote, "through the grapevine," and closed quote, on Friday night. Straight from this article, quote, "Solid toxic waste was sent to U.S. Ecology Wayne Disposal Incorporated hazardous waste landfill in Belleville." Say that 5 times fast. "And liquid toxic waste was sent to the Republic Industrial and Energy Solutions LLC facility in Romulus, according to the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, otherwise known as EGLE," and closed quote. The same company behind the spill in Ohio, that being Norfolk Southern, made a statement on Friday that the waste will go to sites designed specifically to take those sort of materials and store them safely. Now, the question then becomes, why were some of these elected officials not informed of this, especially considering the controversy surrounding Norfolk Southern and that train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, the release of those hazardous materials in the way that it was, a giant plume of smoke going up in a small city in Ohio, and now ultimately some of that toxic waste, not specifically from East Palestine, Ohio, but toxic waste nonetheless from that same company is coming in here to Michigan, and neither of the representatives that represent the Romulus area and the Belleville area that are going to be housing this toxic waste, the local community, the Wayne County executive, or even Governor Gretchen Whitmer had a clue that this was happening until they heard it through passing words on Friday night. That's quite ridiculous. And for a company like Norfolk Southern that has not exactly been great with its disclosure of information of late, and of course, certainly with its safety standards, of course, there's going to be a lot of questions surrounding this decision and ultimately the disposal of this toxic waste right here in the state of Michigan. And look, it's not in Oakland County, but it's in our neighboring area. And things that happen in neighboring areas tend to affect your neighbors. We've seen that in East Palestine, Ohio, as that plume of smoke released toxic materials into the atmosphere. And of course, we think about all that we know about nuclear disasters, from the Fukushima nuclear power plant, from 3 Mile Island, from Chernobyl, from what we know about nuclear bombs and how they expose toxic and hazardous and radioactive materials through the wind and through weather. That one bad move, one accident can happen, and all of a sudden it's not just Belleville or it's not just Romulus that's affected, it's other local areas as well. Now look, I'm not going to be alarmist here. We shouldn't be having alarm bells going off and acting like there's going to be an emergency in our local area at any time from this waste material. It is, as Norfolk Southern had said, going to sites that are specifically designed for this, and Eagle is overseeing this disposal. That being said, those in leadership should know about this. There should be a certain element of disclosure involved, and so this is a story you're going to want to keep your eye on, as some of our local leaders, particularly those in Wayne County, but those we hear a lot from on these sorts of issues in our local area, Debbie Dingell, Rashida Tlaib, Wayne County Executive Warren Evans, and certainly Governor Whitmer I would expect we hear a lot more about this from them in the coming days as more is learned about how this came about, and certainly more reaction comes in about how this all went down in Wayne County. All those headlines, as well as more materials on those stories that you can find within these articles, are on our website, civiccentertv.com, on our local news page, as well as those helpful public health links at the top of the page. We have a great show ahead on this Monday edition of the Megacast. Coming up next, we talk so much about the job market. There's tons of jobs out there. Companies are looking to hire people, but somehow they're still really struggling. That being said, unemployment levels are relatively low as they're currently reported. How is that impacting our local employers? We'll be talking with Jennifer Llewellyn from Oakland County, Michigan Works about that and more. Stay tuned. This is the Megacast.
In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important.
And now the same is true in the face of flu.
Influenza has the power to infect millions.
But it's easy to protect yourself, your family, and your community.
The flu vaccine is safe and effective. And with COVID-19 still around,
It's essential. Together we can face flu season head on.
Visit michigan.gov/flu.
It's that time of year, Greater West Bloomfield. Our towns gather together this March for the 5th annual State of the Communities. Important figures from Sylvan Lake, West Bloomfield, Orchard Lake, and Kego Harbor discuss the past year's projects and developments. Hear presentations from speakers, discussions on plans of action, and more. The 5th annual State of the Communities, March 13th at 7 p.m. at the new West Bloomfield Middle School.
Many people are feeling overwhelmed and struggling with mental wellness these days. So be kind to your mind. Give yourself permission to breathe. Share your feelings. You are not alone. Have hope. Talk to a Stay Well counselor for free confidential help 24/7 through the COVID-19 hotline.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. You can always stay with us and learn more about our program, including all of our partners, and find us on demand on your time anytime at civiccentertv.com/megacast. Take a look there at all of our partnering stations. Click through their links and learn more about all the great original programming right here in our local community and all about our local communities. civiccentertv.com/megacast. Well, we're in an interesting time economically. There are plenty of jobs out there. There's relatively low unemployment numbers, but yet our local businesses keep saying we're really struggling to hire employees. How are they getting assistance from our local government? That question can be answered by our next guest, Jennifer Llewellyn, who is the Manager and Workforce Development Director at Oakland County, Michigan Works. Jennifer, thank you for being with us today.
Hi, Tyler. Thanks for having me. It's great to be back.
Yeah, great to have you with us again because Michigan Works does such great work with employers, with employees, with people seeking jobs and seeking to hire throughout the state. And in the past, we've talked to you mostly about how your organization helps people that are looking for jobs get into those jobs. But nowadays, it really seems like these companies need a lot more of the help themselves to entice people that are looking for jobs, or even those that maybe have taken a back seat in looking for jobs of late, to ultimately fill these positions that they're, in some cases, in desperate need of. So what are some of those resources that you're providing to local businesses to help them in this journey as they're trying to fill those positions and get themselves back to some normalcy in their operations?
Yeah, Tyler, it's an interesting time in my 25 years of workforce development. I'm not sure that I've seen a time like this where we have, low unemployment rate. We're struggling with labor force participation rate. How do we get those individuals that have been sidelined over the course of the last few years? How do we get them to re-engage in the workforce? And then also, how do we, meet the needs of employers that they have significant needs, both entry level, we have the evolving economy of, EV and connected mobility and industry 4.0 and robotics and automation. And so it's a unique time. Our team is really focusing on both sides of that effort. So on the first side, how do we get more individuals to participate in the labor force again? So really working with our residents across Oakland County to identify what barriers they're facing that might be interfering with their ability to get back to work. So maybe if childcare is an issue or transportation is an issue, or, there's other barriers that they're facing. We have resources and funding programs and initiatives and grants available to help individuals overcome those barriers and help them transition back to work. One item in particular we're really proud of is an investment from County Executive Dave Coulter and the Oakland County Board of Commissioners to create our scholarship program, our child care scholarship program. We're awarding $1,200 scholarships to individuals who are transitioning back to work or transitioning into education to help them get over that hump and help them make that transition back to work if child care is a factor. On the flip side, we're also working with businesses across the county to help them identify, what gaps do they have? Do they need to fill entry-level positions, mid-level or high-level positions, and be really creative, right? If they're using the post and pray model, post a job and pray they fill it, it's not going to work in this economy. So helping them come up with innovative strategies using social media, virtual job fairs, making sure their job descriptions and job postings are really enticing, making sure their wages are competitive. It's really a time to be creative and use maybe some different strategies than what they've used in the past.
The easiest way to find Oakland County Michigan Works is to go to their website, oaklandcountymiworks.com. Oakland County MI, like the state of Michigan, works.com, or give them a call at 248-858-5520, 248-858-5520 for more information. And again, this is for those that are seeking jobs, as well as those employers that are looking to fill some of these positions. And Jennifer, as you talk about some of those incentives, we've known in the past during the bulk of the pandemic that those incentives were a huge part of hiring employees and hiring staff, whether it was while people were working virtually, and certainly as people were coming back into these physical locations as things started to open back up. And now those incentives really going to need to be a little bit different. You touched on some of those points, but you are in a unique position. Your organization's in a unique position where you're able to interact with both those employers and those potential employees. And so from the angle of those that are seeking jobs, what are those things that they're really, really focusing on as things they want out of their employer and they're willing to stay on the sidelines if they're not able to get?
Sure. So, a lot of the job seekers we talk to, or even folks that are employed, that time during the pandemic really gave them a chance to reflect on, what was important to them. Work-life balance has a new meaning. Many people got a perspective that they had never gotten before, working remotely or having more flexible time with their family. And so we're hearing more and more from job seekers are saying, I really enjoyed that time. I really want something that allows me to have that work-life balance, allows me to have that flexibility. Also, the wage competitiveness. We've seen wages increase over the course of the last few years. We had some feedback even prior to the pandemic from the University of Michigan does an economic outlook forecast for Oakland County each year. And even before the pandemic, they were saying, wages are really flat in Oakland County, and something's going to have to give a little bit. And really what the pandemic did was really magnify that challenge. So, folks are looking for that work-life balance. They're looking for competitive wages, and they're also looking, to find their personal goals, right? How can I contribute to the success of a company? How can I be part of a workplace that makes a difference? How can I impact the lives of others? And those are things that we've historically heard in workforce development. So it's fascinating to watch how the culture has shifted from both job seekers and employers in the county.
We're joined on the program today by Jennifer Llewellyn, who is the manager and the workforce development director at Oakland County Michigan Works. Again, more information can be found and resources from Oakland County Michigan Works for job seekers and for employers looking to fill some of those critical positions in their company at oaklandcountymiworks.com, oaklandcountymiworks.com, or call them 248-858-5520. And Jennifer, for these companies, they know that these are things that employers want. These have been on the list. Some of these different incentives and those necessities, that work-life balance, maybe childcare, certainly the competitive wages, have been something that have been brought to the negotiating table quite aggressively by those seeking jobs over the last couple of years. But for these companies too, they're also in a state of recovery, or they're trying to gain that momentum back following the initial recovery as they're going forward and things are much more back to normal than they were before. So how does Oakland County Michigan Works in their consultation with these businesses suggest that they go about approaching that balancing act between the needs of these job seekers and ultimately those needs having to be somewhat fulfilled to get them through the door and ultimately accept your job offer, but ultimately still not putting yourself at a disadvantage where you're stagnating as you're trying to really get some of that oomph back into your business?
Sure, Tyler, this is where I think we can be most helpful to businesses across Oakland County. So not only attracting new employees, but how do we help them keep the employees that they have? And how do we help their employees grow on a professional trajectory? And that's really, the fourth piece that a lot of job seekers and employees are seeking, right? They're seeking an investment in their education and training and development. They're seeking career growth opportunities. We're spending a significant amount of time helping employers create registered apprenticeship programs. We have some great investment from the federal level and the state level to help offset the cost of creating registered apprenticeship programs within companies. Now, a lot of people, when they think of registered apprenticeship, they think of the skilled trades. They think of plumbers or pipe fitters or welders, but really you can apprentice any occupation. It's a combination of that on-the-job training and formal education. We have funding available to help offset the cost of a registered apprenticeship program for employers. We have an apprenticeship success coordinator on our team that can help businesses from start to finish, because it can be an intimidating process if you haven't done that before. But we have an extraordinary team here at Oakland County Michigan Works that helps create the apprenticeship program, implement it, and identify those dollars. We also have funding available through a regional talent innovation grant, and we have the Going Pro Talent Fund, which again provides funding for businesses to apply for, and they can use those dollars to upgrade the skills of their existing workforce or train new employees. So, if they have someone that has maybe 75 or 80% of what they're looking for, maybe they're missing just a little bit more as far as skills, we can provide them funding to upgrade the skills of that employee and help them get industry recognized credentials and certifications that make them a competitive, helpful resource within their organization. So, again, it's that balance. How do we help them keep the employees that they have, grow those employees that they have, but also train new employees as well. So if folks aren't connected with us, I would really encourage them to reach out to our Oakland County Michigan Works Business Services team.
And it's an interesting time, too, because, and I was talking to some family about this recently, that so much of the current dynamic between employers and job seekers, or even employers and those who are no longer seeking jobs or have been on the sidelines for a while and are no longer counted in the unemployment, are looking for those sort of incentives. And it kind of brings parallels to the late 90s or the early 2000s, where there were so much of those incentives being provided by companies that were willing to really invest in these employees over time. Now we're seeing that kind of come back in really different economic times. So where do employers see this going in the future in terms of that balancing act between providing all these incentives to retain employees and certainly to bring people back in, while also providing enough to keep their company mobile and moving forward, and ultimately not over-investing in those employees, both current and potential, which could be of detriment to everybody involved?
Sure. I can't imagine being a small business owner in this environment, right? Trying to find that balance, to be competitive, to offer competitive wages and competitive incentives. And this is where we're seeing a lot of companies be really creative with, even low cost options. One business we were talking to was a healthcare facility, an assisted living facility, and they found they had food left over at the end of each night, and they started packaging up those meals and offering those meals to the employees to take home after work. And employees were saying, gosh, I don't have to go home and cook dinner. I can just provide this food for my family. And that small thing where they were making that food anyway, to be able to offer that to their employees as an incentive was really helpful. It's a lot of that career growth and career trajectory, and using resources like Oakland County Michigan Works, or even our education partners, Oakland Community College, Oakland University, nonprofit organizations, and being really savvy about what types of resources are out there for small businesses. Oakland County has a business forward team. It's a team of consultants that specialize in working with small businesses and helping them grow across the county. Reach out to them, reach out to us, because we know this is a competitive environment, and there's a lot of help that's available to companies to help offset some of those costs.
More information can be found on oaklandcountymiworks.com, and you can also find information about contacting your local Oakland County Michigan Works office. 6 of those all throughout the county: Novi, Southfield, Oak Park, Troy, Pontiac, and Waterford. All that contact information, their hours of operations, their locations, all on oaklandcountymiworks.com. And as you talk about the consultation and working closely with these companies, how does Oakland County Michigan Works ultimately help them in this effort? Take us through that typical consultation between your organization and these companies, and just how you really get into the nitty-gritty with them to approach their personal problems, their individual problems that they're facing and those challenges, and helping them through that, while also helping them kind of with those general challenges that all envelop this current economic time.
So we have an extraordinary business services team here at Oakland County, 20 certified professionals that are trained in business solutions. So really the first step is connecting with the business and sitting down with them and really asking some tough questions, doing that fact finding. What are your pain points? Are you having a difficult time hiring? Are you having a difficult time keeping people? Are you having a difficult time, creating those career trajectories and growth? And as you said, it has to be customized for every business. They're all different. everyone has unique needs. And our business services team, we try to think of them really as generalists, where it's not always that Oakland County, Michigan Works has the solution, but we have an extraordinary group of partners from across Oakland County that can help address some of those needs. So for example, we had a business recently that hired some of the refugees from Ukraine and Afghani refugees, and they were finding that English was a barrier. Well, we have great partners with our adult education partners and Oakland Literacy Council that can come in and provide supports to that organization. So that's really the first step, is just getting in there, finding out where are the challenges, where are the successes, what are they doing really well, and how can we help that grow. The second piece is, starting to develop some of those solutions and partnerships. So bringing, the right organizations to the table to craft some of the solutions for that business. Sometimes it's our Michigan Works programs and services, and sometimes it's others. And then the third piece is obviously implementation and follow-up. So, is it creating an apprenticeship program and getting that implemented, or applying for a Going Pro Talent Fund grant and getting those dollars, or getting them connected with a partner. So, my big ask is always like, just let us sit down and talk with you. If we may or may not be able to develop a solution or get you connected to the right partners, but even if we can offer, something, if we can address one challenge or help a company overcome one barrier that they're facing, that could make a difference for their employment and retention rates.
Yeah, and it all kind of snowballs forward into other efforts, whether it's on the employment side or just other efforts you're making to grow your company and get that momentum back following the COVID-19 pandemic. There's quick links on their website for employers and employees for a lot of different resources as well on OaklandCountyMIWorks.com. OaklandCountyMIWorks.com is the website. You can also follow them across social media on Facebook and on Instagram at Oakland County MI Works, and on Twitter at Oakland MI Works for more information. All those links on their website. Again, OaklandCountyMIWorks.com, or call them 248-858-5520. We're joined by Jennifer Llewellyn, who is the manager and the workforce development director at Oakland County, Michigan Works, on today's edition of the Megacast. Jennifer, a few more minutes with you before we will need to move on. Bringing all this kind of back to those job seekers, how does that all parallel to your consultation with them, knowing what these businesses are looking for and knowing what these job seekers are seeking to ultimately make sure that they get what they're looking for out of this job search, while also helping these companies fill these different job openings that in some cases are critical openings that they absolutely need to fill?
Yeah, it's the consultation with job seekers is almost more important than it is with our employers, right? We have to help them understand the dynamics of the labor force right now and the workforce and what businesses need and want. So, very similar to businesses, that first step is just sitting down with a job seeker and getting an assessment of where they're at. What's their educational background? What's their work history background? Are there any patterns, right? Have they been terminated from their last 7 jobs, or, were they at a company for 30 years? Those can make a difference in the next steps for their career. We also talk about any personal barriers that they might be facing. Are there financial hardships that they're up against, or transportation challenges, or childcare challenges? All of those are factors when making a job transition or career transition. And sometimes when people think about workforce development, they just think about getting a job or enrolling in education, but really being able to sit down with someone and understand the whole human being, that whole human-centered approach, and help, what are their short-term goals? What are their long-term goals? We also get into, educational, reading levels and math levels, and what their interests are and what their abilities are. So that piece is so important, that very, very first step before they enroll in education or start looking for their next job. We really want to get to know them. And then, similar to the employers, the next step is identifying, okay, what's the plan? We have a great team of career advisors at the 6 centers that you mentioned that sits down and says, okay, what's our next steps, right? Do we need to help them get into an education program? We have funding available short-term certification programs. Michigan has a great program called Michigan Reconnect. It provides tuition-free education at the community college for individuals 25 or older that have less than an associate's degree. Maybe they need a skill upgrade. So maybe they're in IT, but their skills are outdated, but they need some IT certifications. We can help across the trajectory, whether it's entry level or professional level positions. And then that last piece, making sure that they have the wraparound services that they need. So if childcare is a challenge, how do we get them connected to the scholarship program? Or if transportation is a challenge, can we help them with car repairs or auto insurance or, Uber, Lyft, or, developing that plan and those solutions. And then hopefully, the last step is meaningful employment, something that they enjoy, something that helps them be economically self-sufficient, and something that, they have a passion and a love for. So it's really, it's embracing the whole person and everything, their education, their work, their skills, and making sure that we can help address those barriers and needs that they have.
Oakland County MIworks.com is the website for more information. Jennifer, before we let you go, anything else that would be important for our audience to be considering at this time, employers or job seekers?
One initiative I didn't mention is our Oakland County Business Resource Network. So back in 2018, 2019, we were looking at our offerings and our needs of our businesses across the county, and we found that retention of employees was a challenge that many of our businesses were facing. And so we launched the Oakland County Business Resource Network. And under this initiative, we provide a success coach out to a company once a week for a couple of hours. And that success coach can meet with any employees that are facing any barriers that might be interfering with their ability to keep their job. So things that they might not be comfortable talking to their supervisor or human resources about. And so we have 22 member companies that have joined the Oakland County Business Resource Network. Of those companies, the employees that use this service have a 90% retention rate. It's available at no cost, thanks to an investment from Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter and the Oakland County Board of Commissioners of American Rescue Plan funds. So small businesses with less than 500 employees can join the Business Resource Network. The companies that are part of the network, they also meet together once a month, and they share best practices and challenges as it relates to keeping the employees that they have. So really great initiative. It's our first time really being in that employee retention space, and it's some really meaningful and powerful work. So if people want more information on that, they can visit our website.
Oakland County MIworks.com is that website. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Tyler. Always a pleasure.
Glad to have you on with us. A really important time and a lot of important information for both those seeking jobs and those looking to fill those job positions as well. We'll take a break on the Megacast. On the other side, the Michigan Science Center joins us as they once again fall in the top 5 of the best science museums all across the United States. Plus, we'll preview a very sweet partnership they have coming up with the Girl Scouts of America. Stay tuned. This is the Megacast.
Ronnie started doing prescription pills at the age of 15, and by 19, he died. If your child is struggling with drug use, try not to be too proud to reach out for help. Don't be worried about what the neighbor will think or your family. Just get your child the help they need. Sometimes it's the hard road to take, but the hard road is nothing compared to living with the fact that your child is no longer with you.
There's hope and help at drugfree.org.
Watch Civic Center TV with our brand new live captions. To turn on live captions, go to civiccentertv.com and click Watch Live. In your web browser, click on the Options tab in the top right and find the Accessibilities tab. Then just switch on live captions to heighten your enjoyment of our local programming. Thank you so much for watching Civic Center TV.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. You can find more information on our website, civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Find us on demand and learn more about each and every one of our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets that join us every single day. Our live shows, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. You can also find us live to tape and on demand all throughout the week and on the weekends as well. CivicCenterTV.com/Megacast, the place to go for all of that. Joining us now on the Megacast is Lucy Hale, the Chief Business Officer with the Michigan Science Center, as once again they've been named one of the best amongst science museums here in the United States. Lucy, thanks for joining us today, as this year, again, didn't quite get to that top spot, number 1, but staying in the top 5, finishing at number 3. How exciting is this for the Michigan Science Center?
Oh, hi, Tyler. We're so thrilled. And thank you and everyone for all your support in getting the word out about the USA Today 10 Best contest. We placed number 3 in the country for all science museums. So we're just really thrilled to be in that top 5 again and to be, in consideration with so many of our wonderful museum partners and friends across the country. It means so much to us. We love putting everybody at the center of science at the Michigan Science Center, and to get the response from the public in this contest just really means the world.
And part of what has catapulted the Michigan Science Center into that top 3 of the last 2 years, top 5 in the recent years consistently is, as you said, really bringing that science to the customers and in a really interactive way, but also through great partnerships with organizations all across the U.S. to bring these programs to you and also to expand some of these programs that you are creating yourself. And so with that in mind, what are some of the exciting programs that are ongoing at the Michigan Science Center right now? If people want to explore one of the best in the country right here in the Detroit area, or in the future that people should be putting on their calendars and keeping an eye out for.
Oh, well, first of all, I look at our reviews all the time, and we had a review this past weekend that came in. And the person said there was something for them to do in every corner of the museum. And to me, that kind of really captures what we're trying to do at the Michigan Science Center, that every time you come, it's going to feel different. Our exhibits might be similar or the same year after year, some of our like the space exhibit or Earth, Wind, and Weather, but the way that you interact with them might be different because of our wonderful educators that might be in the gallery, or because of the films we might have, or because of the other programs and opportunities we have going on. So coming up this weekend on the 4th, we have a partnership with Edible Wow, and we do shows on our science stage on the first Saturdays of every other month with Edible Wow about the science of cooking. And so this month we're pairing it with a partnership we have going on with the Girl Scouts. And the program is with Chef Amanda Saab, and it's called The Color of Butter. And it's all about the importance of butter in baking. So that's going to be a really fun program. We also have Girl Scout cookie sales going on the weekends through early April. They're wonderful partners of ours. And then we're trying to do things to expand our hours too. So this coming Friday, it's our first Friday late night. So we are open until 8 p.m. the first Friday of every month, just to give folks an opportunity to come down who might not be able to come during the week, or maybe they can't come on the weekend because of work or because of their kids' weekend activities. So we just wanted a period of time where folks of all ages could get to the Science Center in some extended hours.
More information can be found on the website mi-sci.org. It's mi-sci.org for more information on all of their ongoing and upcoming programs, different ways you can get involved at the Michigan Science Center, and so much more great information on their website, mi-sci.org. And you mentioned the partnership with the Girl Scouts of Southeastern Michigan. Not only will there be cookie sales in the lobby through April 9th, and all those other programs you've already mentioned. Of course, none of this happens unless we're looking into the science of the cookie, and that's also a big part of this partnership.
Yeah, so the science of the cookie, we came up with this with the Girl Scouts of Southeast Michigan. So we have a couple of demonstrations that are going to be going on throughout the day, on the weekends, through this partnership through April 9th. So one of them is called Cookie Nightmares. So it's about what happens with cookies if you change or remove certain ingredients. So it's really about chemistry, and baking is really about chemistry. And so I personally like a crispy cookie, and so maybe you'll be able to learn what makes a cookie crispy as opposed to what makes a cookie soft. Has to do with the kind of fat that you use. And then we also have a program called Cookie Excavations, which is really about archaeology and using a cookie as a model for learning how archaeologists use tools and how they excavate layers of the earth to find out about human civilization. So those are really fun programs that we've got going on. And we have a really creative education staff. And so they came up with these programs as ways that really connected cookies to science and to areas of science that they're really passionate about. So we're super excited about that. And there's also a contest going on. So folks can enter through the Girl Scouts of Southeast Michigan's website. They can enter to select their favorite cookie, and the grand prize winner receives a 1-year membership to the Science Center, a really great STEM gift basket of items from our awesome science store at the Michigan Science Center, and then 20 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. So none of the staff can enter, unfortunately, because I would love 20 boxes of Girl Scout cookies.
More information can be found in a couple of places. Of course, you can go to the Michigan Science Center's website at mi-sci.org, or, as Lucy had mentioned, go to the Girl Scouts of Southeastern Michigan's website at gssem.org for more information. gssem.org for more information on this program as well. And just to get the dates, as I mentioned earlier, the cookies will be sold in the lobby through April 9th. But when does all this begin with the Girl Scouts of Southeastern Michigan at the Science Center?
Yeah, so it begins this Saturday on March 4th. And, we hope people will stay for the day, but if you want to just drop by and buy some cookies, maybe shop in the science store, you can do that without having to get admission to the Science Center, which we hope you do and we hope you stay. But if you just got a few minutes and you want to drop in and get your cookie fix, your Girl Scout cookie fix for the year, you can do that too, because we will have them set up in our lobby. And this is just a wonderful partnership for us. We do so much with the Girl Scouts of Southeast Michigan every year, and so we're really thrilled to be able to host troops in the lobby this year for this really important part of their mission and their funding.
The number 3 science museum in the United States is the Michigan Science Center. That, according to USA Today's 10 Best competition this past year, and that news coming in this week, as well as, of course, all this information we've just been speaking about the partnership between the Michigan Science Center and the Girl Scouts of Southeastern Michigan. We're joined on the program by Lucy Hale, the Chief Business Officer at the Michigan Science Center. Lucy, a couple more minutes with you before we'll need to wrap things up for the day. Anything else we should know about this ongoing partnership with the Girl Scouts of Southeastern Michigan, or other things happening at the Michigan Science Center at this time?
Sure. So we do have a special program we do with them in April. And so if you are a Girl Scout troop within the Girl Scouts of Southeast Michigan, you'll you probably have information about that. It's a wonderful night that's sponsored by BASF about chemistry and science. And so that's later on in April. And then we also have, for our grown-up audiences, we have an After Dark coming in April, and that I believe is April 15th. And so that's a special night. You have to be 21 and up. We have a couple of bars open in the museum. We've got wonderful science demos and experience and speakers. And April's theme is all about astronomy and space. So there's been so much news about the James Webb Telescope. And so folks, when they come to that event in April, will get to learn about what some of those images mean with our great staff astronomer. So we're really excited about that event too. And that's coming up in mid-April.
Yeah, if there's any topic of interest of yours, you can probably learn a little bit about the science behind it at the Michigan Science Center. Lucy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks so much for having us, and we hope we'll see you soon at the Science Center.
Absolutely. Always love our friends over at the Michigan Science Center. Encourage you to give them a visit. One of the best in the entire country. It's right here in Michigan, right here in Southeastern Michigan. So why not take a stop to Detroit and go to the Michigan Science Center, mi-sci.org. to learn more about all the magic and the science at the Michigan Science Center. That will do it for this edition of the Megacast. Big thank you to each of our guests for joining us today. Jennifer Llewellyn from Oakland County, Michigan Works, as well as Lucy Hale from the Michigan Science Center. You can stay up to date with us on our website, civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Find us on demand, both our full episodes and each individual interview segment as well, and learn more about each and every one of our partnering stations. A big thank you to each one of them for joining us live and live to tape Monday through Friday for these programs, as well as to our dedicated crew at the studio of My Michigan TV. It's Jared Clark, our Zoom producer today, and the director at Master Control at Green Media Center, Calvin Brown. Big thank you to him as well. That will be it for our show today. We'll be back very soon with a new episode. In the meantime, take care of each other and we'll see you next time.